she is. How cute is that?
That was really cute. Who did that song?
It's Roxy.
I don't know who did the song.
I bet you it's hers.
Was that
Oh,
her voice?
I
Probably.
think probably.
Yeah.
I don't know how she
Look,
did
it
that.
brought tears to my eyes.
But yes, it was very cute.
It was really cute.
She's got some real technical skill. It's just put a couple of these together that have been pretty nice.
Yeah.
Very
that was
nice,
really-
Roxy. Thank you so much.
It made
We
me
love it.
smile the whole time. I was smiling. I was like,
I know
this is
I was
cute.
watching you. Yeah. Sweet. We need more
Yes, it
Christmas carols.
was.
Need more Christmas carols in our life, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. All right.
Oh dear. What's going
I
on?
think we're mostly still on hellos, don't you agree, Cass? Except
Oh yes, I'm catching up.
yeah.
T-Bone has been messing with his filters.
Yes.
Because now I know how to pull them apart and fix them. Right.
Mm-hmm.
That's the trick. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, you got to
Learn how to pull them apart.
Yeah, free up the impellers and get things working.
Exactly. We have a
Yeah.
solution. We have a solution for you, T-Bone.
We hope.
We hope.
Well, yeah, I'm sure of it. I'm confident. You need to start doing some water changes. If you have well water, do a 50% water change. If you do not, if you have city water, then do about a 15% water change, but treat the water before you put it in the tank. In other words, get rid of the chlorine first. You need to get rid of that yellow water. And the way to do that is water changes. It's not going to filter out. The filter is not going to solve your problem. You need to get 2 inches of sand in there, and you need to start doing water changes. Get some clean, clear water. You have basically what I refer to as old water. The old time fish keepers. There were two schools of fish keepers years ago. They were the old water fish keeper and the new water fish keeper, and they each swore by their technique. The new water fish keeper would change water every day, whether it was raising babies or breeding fish, whatever it was. They would essentially have flow through systems in their fish barn with new water going into the tank continuously. And they swore by that. The old water fish keepers would never, ever, ever, never, ever, never do a water change. They would have old water, and they prized their old water, and they would breed their fish in old water. And these two groups of fish keepers, I met an old water fish keeper. The last one I knew was around 2000 around 2000, early 2000s, 2003, 2004, along there. So an old lady who is still living, to the best of my knowledge, still keeping fish. She was running a fish room on a fish farm, and she was raising. I've talked about her before. She was raising albino. Uh, what are they called? Pearl scale albino veil angels. The most spectacular fish there probably ever was. And these were beautiful. They were hardy. The problem with that strain is it tends to be a weak strain. And people who have tried to raise them um, tend to have weak fish. They just don't hold up well. They don't live long. But hers were quite the opposite. Hers were strong. They were hardy. She knew how to keep the vigor in the strain, and she swore that it was the old water that did it. And by old water, I mean water that had been sitting in the tank for years and years. Very old water, established water, she would call it. So I don't know that there are any old water fish keepers left. There may be a few. Um, the deep substrate has allowed for more old water fish
Yeah.
keepers.
Misfit says, Father Fish, there are a few old timers in my area that I do some work for every now and again, and they use old water methods still to this day. So
Yeah, I'm sure of it. Yeah, it's true. It's true. Most of the farmers today are new water farmers. They're not old water farmers.
Right.
It's kind of interesting. A lot of the old timers really believe in never changing the water. They 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 believe that the water gets better as it gets older, and there obviously is something to it. I do it up to a point. I do it to the point where I feel like it needs to be refreshed. And T-Bone, I'm at that point with your tank. You really need fresh water in there. If you're losing fish, then you've got something wrong, and the best way to deal with it is number one, get 2 inches of sand in that tank and get a substrate that is not toxic because the substrate you have now is toxic. Adding sand will solve that problem and it will create a living substrate for you. So you must do that. It is critical. The other thing that's critical is to start doing water changes. Do 10 or 15%. You can do it every day. If you do 10%, you can do like 1 gallon, do a gallon every single day. Treat the water with a little bit of chlorine remover if you have chlorine in your water. If you have well water, do a bigger water change. Do 25% and do it every day for a month or a week or whatever. Uh, do it until that water is crystal clear. You want to get the yellow out. The tannins are obviously having a negative impact on the quality of the water in the tank, and your fish are not appreciating it. So, do some water changes, and that should begin to make a real difference for you.
Well, that and maybe give it some time. Because did he just add sand?
Add what?
He can do.
Did you say he just added sand? Because he also has a comment about that.
He's not added it yet, I don't think.
Oh,
Been having a hard time getting it.
Yeah.
he has a comment at 808 about
But he can do
water
both
changes.
at the same time.
Been doing that once a week, 25%. Was using Purigen. Yeah, which is where he thinks he gets the yellow tinge. Yeah, I would do it more frequently. Do every couple of do that much every 2 days or every 3 days. You want to get the water clear. He did stop using Purigen. That's good. The other thing about the difference between old water and new water, with new water, the only chemical you want to put in there is chlorine remover. And there are a number of things that work. Vitamin C works. The pure vitamin C powder, that'll get rid of chlorine. I use sodium thiosulfate crystals, which are cheap, easy to use. You just throw one crystal in per gallon of water. It dissipates, leaves nothing behind, and gets rid of the chlorine. If you have chloramine water, if you have water that has ammonia in it, has ammonia combined with the chlorine to create a chloramine molecule. If you do, you need to know whether you do or not. Because if you do, you need to add more chlorine remover in order to break the molecular bond that exists between the ammonia and the chlorine. It forms a molecule called a chloramine molecule. By adding extra chlorine remover, it breaks that bond, gets rid of the chlorine. The ammonia stays in there, but it is infinitesimal. It is such a tiny amount of ammonia that it is of no concern whatever. The little bit of ammonia is substantially less powerful than a similar little bit of chlorine. Chlorine is vastly more toxic than ammonia by portion. So if you have plants, if you have a deep substrate, it will burn off that ammonia almost instantly. The nitrifying bacteria, that's its job. It changes ammonia to nitrites, and another bacteria will change it to nitrates. And the plants will take up nitrates as nutrition, as will the substrate receive nitrates into the substrate and make them available to plants. So there's all that. Water changes, water changes.
Mm-hmm.
I guess on balance, I'm not an old water fish keeper. Although I like,
But
I,
that's
I
your
do have,
work.
I do have some tank. I do have some old water tanks. Yeah, I've got three, four at least. I have four that are permanent old water. I've got a number of others that I change out maybe once a year or so in order to get rid of of the carbonates,
Yeah.
the GH, the KH, and the GH. My situation is I have extremely hard water. My water normally is at 250 parts per million, and that gets increased by my RO system. I save the wastewater from my RO system. Since I'm paying for water, I don't let anything go down the drain. The wastewater from my RO goes into a big vat. It gets treated, the chlorine removed using charcoal, and I use that for all or virtually all of my freshwater tanks. I do not use it for my bedded tanks. And I use it probably 50% for my native tanks. In those tanks, I use RO water, and I'll combine it with some of the hard water. It kind of brings it back to its original state. I find bedders do better if the water's a little less hard.
Yeah. I'm I'm
Uh,
not I'm not changing water, you know, necessarily weekly or or a couple times a week, but I guess I would be a new water, keeper because I don't let it go months and months and months.
yeah,
I'm do it as needed, but I can do bigger ones with my well water.
right. Yeah, well water gives you the option of being able to do an open system. I a good friend of mine, Merle Cohen. I've talked about Merle often. Merle owned Aquarium Products, which was the company that invented
Right.
Quick Cure
Quick here.
and a number of other things. So he had developed a product at one point that was a water exchange system, and he had it hooked up to his water supply, his house supply, and he kept it in about a 125-gallon tank with goldfish in it. He had fancy, beautiful, fancy goldfish. This system would inject water into in a very thin, strong stream into the water, and at the same time would take out the same amount of water. I never learned how that worked. It looked to be a pretty simple system. It was essentially a double hose that went into a needle opening valve that also had a hose in it that allowed that what is that principle that water that sucks up water? Can't remember. Somebody
Siphon?
remember. Pardon?
To siphon it?
No, it's not. It's sort of an auto siphon.
Hmm.
It's it's a principle whereby water uh, is moved in an opposite direction based on water going past it. It's a principle.
It's not reverse osmosis. No, it's not
No,
that.
no, no, no.
No,
It's
it's not. That's not
Cassie.
even the same.
Cassie,
Yeah.
as an engineer, Cassie probably knows what it is. That just lost back there somewhere
Yeah, it's like a reverse
in the archives.
flow.
In
Yeah.
any case, yeah, like a reverse flow.
Flow. Yeah.
Anyway, that's what the way the thing worked. And it was really brilliant because he could be doing continuous water changes in his fish tank with it.
Okay.
He sold me a couple of them or gave me a couple, and that was too many years ago,
Yeah.
and they have disappeared.
Al says Venturi, but I thought Venturi put the water in. But I could be wrong.
Venturi is what I'm talking about,
Okay.
right? Yeah, it is Venturi.
I thought that just. But you're right.
Yeah.
He puts it in and okay. Yeah.
Yeah, puts it in, and it allows for it to come out as well. It creates a kind of a reverse siphon or something.
Okay.
I don't
Yeah.
understand
Well,
Venturi.
it says it's a system for speeding the flow of the fluid by constricting it into the cone shape. So water is going to go in and it's going to speed up because it got constricted.
And then that causes something else to happen.
That's like what we do with the hose when you're closing the hole to make a smaller hole and you're going to get like a bigger jet of water. It's similar to that.
So you get more pressure, do you, actually?
Yeah.
Okay.
Increases the pressure back to the ambient.
So what would cause water then to flow out a second hose right alongside that one?
That's where I'm confused. I'm confused about
I don't know.
that. I
Um,
get how it goes in, but right. I don't
So
know.
it says like the water where it's not compressed, it's at a higher level than where it is where it's compressed. That water is lower.
Okay, that makes sense. So it has to sit down in the water to make it happen. And then
Yeah,
the
so
act of
there's
the
like a
water,
delta there.
yeah, the act of the water jet shooting through the bottom of that wider hose would cause water to be pulled up into the hose. Maybe.
I know.
Or
I've seen
maybe
those
it's just a
systems.
siphon. Maybe it's just a siphon that doesn't break.
The system itself is just like it looks
I
like
see.
it's the act
I
of
see what you're saying. Once it's started, as long as you
looping
keep
it.
it at the level, it never stops.
Oh, and with the water going in, it would keep this. It would keep the
Right.
siphon from breaking.
Right. You'll
Maybe.
have to see the
might
picture.
be
The
it.
picture helps.
I definitely don't understand the system. I know there are
Right.
a bunch of people that use it.
There's
like,
something to do with
Jack
the like
Watley.
a second hose going from the wide part to the narrow part, and then there's a delta there, which probably is what's helping it keep the siphon. But that where it's pinched, it's causing like all the water to come in here, so it's coming out
So
at a faster velocity.
it's
Anyways.
creating some sort of a vacuum system. But I think it's like what you said, it never stops. So once you start it, it just
I'm not
continues.
familiar with the system, so I'd have to do a lot more digging to see
I've
what it's
seen,
all about.
that
I just see
video.
like a basic principle being used there.
I saw the video where they went to visit Jack Watley Discus, and that is a system that he uses. But I mean, I look at that and go, okay, that's too much for me.
Yeah, I'd need to like sit down and look at it for a little bit longer than right
Yeah.
now.
Anyway,
It's a new one to me.
he used
But
that
it's
on
not-
goldfish, and it was pretty slick because, as a result, he had new water continuously. going into that goldfish tank, and it was going in at a slow enough rate that the chlorine was being dissipated. So even though it was chlorinated water
Yeah.
coming through his house service, it was not creating a problem because it was going at a slow enough rate that the chlorine could dissipate. Chlorine does dissipate; it's a gas.
Right.
Chloramine does not. That's the whole purpose for putting the ammonia in with the chlorine to make it a liquid molecule rather than letting it remain a gas, which will gas off. All of
I
which seems to me um, is highly suspect technology.
I know people that do water changes with chlorinated water and they do nothing. They'll say to me, "Oh, I changed 20% and I don't do anything. I just put it in." That scares me, but they are
Yeah, ten
successful with
percent.
it.
10% you can get away with. 20% is pushing it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
and
they do it.
it depends also on the flow. If it's a really fast flow, you're
Yeah,
going to get more in there quicker. And also, again, if it's chloramine, they're not going to get away with it.
true. So they just must have just chlorinated water.
Probably. I do here in Venice. The water supply engineer um, is technologically and sophisticated enough to realize that ammonia does not do anything to improve the quality of the water. It rather has the reverse effect. So he does not put it in. The county, on the other hand, does. So our city has a separate water
Okay.
supply from the county supply.
So
County
you
supply supplies Sarasota, which is north of us, which is a substantially larger city. So Venice has been able to maintain its independent water supply.
so it might not be a bad idea to know what is in your water source.
Oh, it's critical.
I
You
mean,
absolutely
get that
need to know.
information.
And anyone who's got more than one fish tank needs to call up their local water supply and talk to the engineer, talk to the chemist or one of the chemists, and find out what's in the water. And tell them right up front, I keep tropical fish. I
Right.
want to know what I need to do to make sure this water is going to be healthy for my fish. And they will help you. But make sure you
Okay.
get the chemist. Don't talk to somebody who answers the phone and says, "Hey, it's John. John's here.
Right.
Yeah, what do you want?" You don't want to talk to that person.
Well,
Okay.
or they'll be like, I'll try to help you, get you to
Yeah,
the right
yeah,
person.
don't
Right.
talk to that person either, right?
Maybe they don't know. Maybe they don't have the chemist's number though.
Yeah, you want to talk to you want to talk to the person in charge of
You
the
want to
water.
go to the top. Go to the top if you can.
Right at the top.
Those
Oh,
people don't like being
I
bothered.
want to talk with the man at the top. Right,
That's right.
that's what it is. And
Well,
learn,
you're
find out, make the call and find out. Don't be intimidated by that. That's they actually these people put out reports every year that they're required to put out to all of the consumers. It's a federal law. They are required by federal law to make the information of the water supply
available.
available and accessible to their customer base. You are their customer base. You don't need to get wrothy about it. Just call them up. You'll find they will be happy to talk to you because, frankly, not enough people are interested. So when you finally get somebody on the line, they'll probably tell you a whole lot more than you need to know, and you'll make a friend.
Well,
So
that
it'll be
would be good.
wonderful. Just do it.
Very
Yeah, that
good.
would be
Because
good.
I mean, you just made that point, and I was just like, okay, so it can differ from town to town, county to county. You need to know
Sounds
what's
like
in
it.
your water. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It depends on the chemist.
It does. It does. Yeah, I have some customers who live east of me who get county water, and they swear they get city water. And these are biologists. I mean, they're they're sophisticated technicians who keep large amounts of fish, and they're convinced they're getting city water. And when I talk to this city engineer, he says, "Oh no, the cutoff for city water is right past your building. You're one of the last on the system." So it's you know the and that's the other issue. You have to find out for sure who is supplying your water because it's not always simple and obvious. I
Good
remember
point.
when I lived in Northfield, Massachusetts, which is a little tiny town north of Greenfield, Massachusetts. The water supply was a lake that sat at a pretty high elevation. I don't know, 500 feet or so um, above the level of the township. And it was owned by a gentleman in the town who maintained water levels in his house. So he could tell simply by looking at those tubes what the water level was in the lake. And he was
Oh, wow.
personally responsible then for supplying water to the township. It was his lake that supplied the water. He never, the city never forced him to sell it. I'm sure that I'm sure he's long gone, and that system no longer applies. But back then, this is back in the 1960s. I would go into his house. He was a hobbyist. He collected paper money, and uh, he had antique bills in frames all over his house. Millions of dollars worth of money
Wow.
in this little old ramshack house, plastered on the walls
With money.
with money.
He
Right?
wallpapered with money.
You did absolutely.
Awesome.
Absolutely. And he was constantly buying. He was kind of an antique nut. In fact, I was the pastor of the little church there, and we would do tag sales occasionally, and there were people who would donate old bills that they had in order for him to buy them to make a donation to the church. That's kind of how that system worked. They
Well, that was a neat way to do it. You
Yeah,
know.
it was. And they were.
Um,
It was a very closed system.
I'm
Yeah,
just I'm just gonna say something to T-Bone because I know Cassie was suggesting places for him to get sand because he's struggling. The other place you could
Yeah.
look, T-Bone, is if you can find somebody that does sandblasting because they will have the right kind of sand, and they'll either sell it to you or point you in the right direction.
Well, his pool shop is closed, so I wonder if he can go to a big box store.
He could, but
Well,
a
I don't know
place
what's open around him. That's what I
that
mean.
does sandblasting uses that sand,
Will the hardware stores be open?
possibly.
He wants to know about beach sand. That's why I was suggesting.
beach sand is fine. That's
Yeah.
perfect. Not a problem. Just rinse the cigarette butts out of it, and it'll be fine.
Good safety tip.
You can filter them out if you like, even.
They have so much sand in Australia. There can't be
Yeah,
cigarette butts
really,
at every
really.
square inch.
Yeah, pick a hunk of rock and mash it up.
But just check for it. That's a safety tip.
Yeah, check for it.
I need to take a break, ladies. If you want to carry on for a bit,
All right. I'm assuming if
I'll be
you
a
put
few-
water, if you put that sand in a bucket, put water in it, those cigarette butts might float.
Maybe. I don't know.
If
The
they're
last
in
time I
it.
stuck my hand in a bucket with sand and was trying to get stuff out and rinse it, a big yard spider, like I felt something in there. I'm like, what was that? And then I went back and it had moved. So I'm like, uh-oh, something's alive in there.
Yeah, I would.
And it was a giant spider. I'm like, oh, God.
I would definitely not reach in there with my hand. I would use a
That
a
was
gardening tool
terrible.
or something because there could
And
be
then I
some
was like,
broken
did it
glass
bite
in
me?
there.
Did it bite me? But I think the grains irritated my hand, and I thought I got bit.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
I was panicking. I was like, "Oh my God, there's a spider in there!"
I
I
don't
do
like
not like
spiders.
spiders. I don't want
Yeah,
to
me
touch
either.
them.
They like to get in the
They like the
skimmer of the
sand.
swimming pool.
Well, so
They
I
hang
had
in it.
I had unused sand in the driveway in the bag, and so snakes will go in there. I've seen that in the past,
Yeah.
but apparently spiders like to go in there and burrow in there.
I don't know. I don't know my spiders, but there's some kind of spider up here in Maine. It literally will be in the skimmer. It's alive. They're crawling around. I don't know
Uh-huh.
what they are, and they're
Oh.
big. I don't like them.
Yeah, I don't know if they're in there because like the ants are in there and they're like just trying to look for a nice easy meal.
Oh
But-
well, yeah. I'm sure they're looking for food and shelter. Sure.
I was freaked out. I did my little I danced. I was like, oh God.
Yeah, I've done a few of those dances myself.
And then I was like, not gonna go back to that. But I got the spider out, so he was up on the surface now, and that's how I saw him. But I was like
Yeah.
in there and rinsing and churning, and I was like turning it around, and I'm like, oh, something moved.
But I am serious for anybody that's collecting random sand. Until you're sure there's nothing in there, don't reach in with your hand to stir it.
Yeah,
Reach in-
don't do what I did.
Well, I mean, there can be
Hello.
blasted or sharp objects in there. You don't want to lay your hand over.
Well, this was a bag. I think it was just a
Oh,
bag.
you were fine because
clay
you bought it.
sand.
Yeah.
And I was just trying to rinse it out, give it a little extra rinse, but it had been sitting on the driveway for like a week.
So that was the perfect little hide. You left them a warm little
I know.
greenhouse to get into where the bugs.
That's
are.
why people might think I'm weird, but I've got like a bag of sand in my fishy bedroom because I don't want to put it outside for critters to get into.
Yeah.
So,
Amber's telling me because she's up in my area. She's like, Joey, probably fisher spiders, huge with long legs like water. I guess so. Because I'm like, this isn't killing them. They're clearly alive.
no, there are like
walking
water
around.
spiders. This was a yard one,
Yeah.
a common guard, but they get big. It was like this big, guys. I mean, it was huge.
Well, we get the wool spider, and they're probably about that size, and they're just
Yeah.
hairy. They look like kind of like a small tarantula because they've got all the hairy legs. And
Oh, I've
stuff.
seen one. I've
I don't
seen
like
wolf
them.
spiders.
Mm-mm.
We got them in Colorado. I was locked in the bathroom with one time.
What?
When I
Who
was a
came out
kid.
alive?
And it didn't move. It was in the corner, and but it was like maybe 3 feet away, and it was like, yeah. I was yelling for my brother and my mom, and nobody came to help me.
I'm just gonna live by that song. I don't like spiders and snakes. Nope.
Yeah, this was bad. I was like out of TP, and I was like yelling at my brother, "Come help!"
I was laughing as it's sitting on the extra roll, right? It's like
No, there was no. It was bathroom was empty, and I was like trying to get help, and I'm like, "There's a spider," and it was one of those wolf spiders. It was huge.
they are huge. Well, we've managed to talk about spiders the whole
I
time.
never saw another one again after that. Empty, and I was like trying to get help, and I'm like, "There's." Don't repeat that.
I have a spider. You want to see my spider?
Oh God! You
No,
gotta
we
show
know
us
you
those
don't like 'em
tarantulas,
either.
Right?
Let's see if I can get it. For real, saying she's happy we don't have Australian huntsmen. Oh, wait till she sees this one. Hold on a minute. I don't know if I can do this. Yeah.
I know in California, all the tarantulas were coming out, and like in people's backyards and stuff, and it
No,
they come out, like, for mating season.
Yeah, they freak me out. I don't like them. I don't like snakes. I got ropefish in my store one time. The wholesaler's like, "Oh, you need ropefish?" Well, so I ordered them. I didn't know that I needed to lower the water level, so I put them in there. Ugh, yeah. No.
There he is. I don't know what kind it is. It's not a redfoot. I don't know what it is. Anyway, one of my Chris, who's the president of our club, has a big fish room, but he decided he wanted to raise spiders, so he got a bunch of them, and this is one of the males that was excess stock, so it came to me.
Okay. We have a question from Jeff about how to move a sand cap tank.
Let's see that. Best way to move sand cap tank and glass withstand the pressure if tank is emptied. So long as you can pick it up and carry it, absolutely. Um, Obviously, it can be heavy. So
Mhm.
it's if it's manageable, picking it up is not going to cause it to redistribute its weight. If,
Agreed, glass
if it's
box.
holding it to begin with, it'll hold it when you move it.
Yeah.
So
I was just thinking about waterlogged sand. I'm like, well, waterlogged sand might be heavy.
Yeah.
you're right. So the weight would be the only issue, but that it would be an issue based on your ability to pick it up, not on the strength of the tank.
Right. Right.
In addition to which, any um,
Well,
any larger tank, like 55 gallons or bigger, the bottom is going to be tempered glass. They simply don't make them big tanks without tempered glass. So it's going
Right.
to be stronger, and that's the whole purpose of tempering glass, to make it stronger. So it will, if it's holding the weight sitting there, it's going to hold the same weight when it's being moved. Um, Obviously, you want to try not to bump it, try not to drop it, try not to bang it, whatever.
Right.
Got to be careful, and don't overdo it. I mean, if it's too heavy, take some of the sand out. You can always put it back in.
True. True.
Amber made a funny comment.
Oh yeah, she's talking about her spider in the basement and that they didn't want to go down there. I get it.
She
But
said it would,
so I got those
it would
ropefish.
charge them.
And I didn't know, because I didn't know anything about them. I didn't know I should lower the level, so I put all the fish away, and then I walked down the stairs. 30 minutes later or whatever. I came around the corner that the rope fish, the side they'd been put on. Well, there was one out at the tank, and I came around the corner. It raised up at me and started doing this, and I
Oh,
got
funny.
some air and started jumping up and down and screaming. And
Funny
I sold
stuff.
those 4 ropefish, and I never had any more in my
Yeah.
store. I was like, I
Honestly,
don't like that.
I don't like the fish that are long and look like snakes. I don't.
Freaked me out.
Mm-mm.
well, I got a bunch of them. When you get over here, all of the salamanders. We have a school. I don't know what it would be called. I guess the school of a very large siren salamanders. Probably have the largest collection of sirens in the world. We've got
Wow.
we've got 10 of them, and
But
they're
they might
big. They're
not.
big.
They might not freak me out as much as those the snakes. The
Yeah, they're more like a lungfish. They look for all the world
okay,
like a
like a lungfish.
lungfish.
All right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Can
we've
you
got
go in?
we have a lungfish mixed in with them, and the only way you can tell the difference is the paddles on the lungfish are long. It's an African, so it has real 4 long paddles, whereas the siren has 2 very tiny front feet.
Oh, okay. I
Like
mean, nobody up here sells anything like that.
Jeff Pasternak saying one of his favorite videos was Funny Fish describing planted tanks and saying, just stick it in the dirt.
You
Right.
see my response? I just responded to him.
That's funny.
That is
Okay,
funny.
so Jeff, you have earned yourself a wrench for that.
Well, that was quick. Yeah, I have to clarify that statement when you made that. Don't stick it in the dirt.
Well, right.
Stick it in the sand. You
Stick
should
it
have
in
in
the
the sand.
Sand. Ding,
A
ding.
Congress. Thank you, Big City. A Congress of salamanders.
A Congress. Okay. I didn't know
There's
that's what a
another.
group of
There's
salamanders was called.
yeah. There's another. Is it a jury of vultures, or is it a? I think it's a jury.
Hmm.
Jury of vultures, or a congress. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Congress of salamanders. Now, how did you get all those? Did people just keep bringing them to you?
Frank caught them.
Oh, okay.
He caught them.
All
Like we had
Oh, that's
one.
right. We
I've
saw
had
that.
one for a couple of years, but he caught them all at once in one place. They were in a
Huh.
culvert, big culvert that he walked through, and they were all congregated together in a congress of salamanders.
All right. And so my sister just said a murder of crows.
A
Yeah.
murder of crows, right?
Well, I have a murder of crows that I feed every day. They love me.
Ah,
Love me. And I
uh,
go
Parliament
out,
of
I go out with this,
Owls.
I go out and throw a handful of food, and I go, crows.
Owls
funny.
are more
And
graceful, so they get called a parliament
A parliament of what?
of owls.
A parliament of owls. Yes,
So
very good.
sophisticated.
Yeah. Oh, someone was asking about the sand, Father Fish. Could you help describe the different types of sand and play sand versus pool filter sand? That was the question.
Yeah, I think the reality is it
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't matter what the cap is, so long as it is fine enough that water is going to pass through it slowly. That's really the key. So a very large, uh, like a gravel size grain, will cause the water to flow through too quickly. And the effect of that will be to bring oxygen deeper into the substrate. You want to keep it at about 2 inches. Um, that that allows an anaerobic layer to form below that, and it's the anaerobic layer that's really critical for being able to maintain a balanced tank. Without anaerobics, you really cannot have plant growth, at least not stem plants or rooted plants. Rooted plants require an anaerobic environment in order to break down the waste such that they can then take it up as nutrition. One other interesting fact about that is that roots create anaerobics. The little hair roots create an anaerobic environment. I don't know how they do this. They somehow are able to, uh, I guess they emit CO2. Um, in any case, they create an anaerobic environment around the root hair, which allows the nutrition to break down such that they can take it up. So, obviously, in an environment that is anaerobic, they're going to have to do less work, and they'll be more effective, if you will, at taking up nutrients. So the density of the sand matters, but the the character of it, the where you get it from, doesn't matter. It can be crushed quartz, it can be crushed coal,
Right.
it can be uh, beach sand, typically crushed granite. It doesn't matter what it is. Crushed shell does not work so well because it is soluble.
Yeah.
It's made of calcium, and the action with the water causes it to dissolve to such an extent that it can form a crust on the surface and prevent water from being able to go through. If it does not crust, it will continuously add to the hardness of the tank, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but may be something you don't want. It's going to make the water harder and harder. So crushed coral or crushed oyster shell are not as desirable unless you're maintaining a very hard water tank like a saltwater tank, in which case it would be fine.
I have mixed that in a little bit with sand and put it down.
I think, yeah, it's if
You
you've
know,
got relatively soft water, excuse me, it's perfect.
yeah.
It's not a
And
problem at all.
I just wanted to say something about. I know one time the only thing I could get was that play sand. I was setting up a tank and everybody was out, and I didn't want to wait, and so I bought the play sand, which is full of clay, and it makes your tank extremely cloudy. But
It
I
is
just did a
very
lot of
cloudy.
water changes, and I did get away with it. So if anybody's in that position where that's the only sand they can get,
Yeah,
um,
just rinse it heavily.
yeah, and
I'm
Yeah.
sorry, I've got to
that's
run.
okay.
It takes
But
about like 30 minutes to rinse out.
I
I
was gonna
would
say it's really messy
it's
sand, but if
very
that's all
time
yeah,
consuming.
yeah, it's
But I
usable.
don't like it as much because it is so fine. I prefer a little bit coarser.
I'm with you. I don't
Because
like
I
fine
have the
sand.
plants, like when you push the plants down,
Yeah,
they want to come right back up if it's too fine.
I wouldn't.
So
I
you
wouldn't
got to like have
necessarily.
that coarser stuff to anchor it down.
Right. I wouldn't mind mixing it, but like my solution yesterday was when I said I didn't like the fine sand, so I used it in layers, and was able
Right.
to get my coarse sand on the top, which works for me
Yeah. And
perfect.
Father Fish was mentioning he would do the opposite.
Opposite.
But I'm like, if you did fine sand first, like you and I did, you didn't like it, add the coarse sand on top of that.
Yeah, and I just did it to use my sand, but especially if I'm doing a goldfish tank, fine sand is like no, can't do it.
No,
But I
and
can
then
use it in a layer because they only sift like the first quarter inch, half an inch. They don't really dig down
yeah,
in, so I can still use it in those tanks, but I prefer to put it under. But
right.
that's just
Well, I
me.
would prefer not to use it at all. But if I made the mistake and found out the hard way
Yeah,
that it's too fine, add your coarse sand on top of
as
that.
it cap
You'll
it
be
with an
fine.
inch of sand.
Yeah, just cap it with a different sand. And
Yeah,
that's how I got my layered look in my jar one time because I used what I had on hand. I used it was definitely a larger gravel type sand.
yeah,
It was for reptiles. And I used that. So I had this really interesting 1 inch layer of white reptile sand. And then I
I,
capped that with, it wasn't enough. So I added Carib sea sand on top of it. So I had
yeah,
this like soil, reptile sand, Carib sea sand, like layered look. And it looked cool, but it was just
yeah.
because that's what I had on hand.
I did in one tank. I did black sand with black gravel and mixed it, and I just
Hmm.
liked the look. It gave a really good texture, um, but it gave me the substrate I needed. But it made it look kind
Yeah.
of cool. I
So I
liked it.
mean, play sand is it's less expensive. Like I think it was a $5 bag
Right.
at the hardware store, and that's what I can get just down the road at my Ace. But
I
I would
couldn't
rather
rinse
go
it.
to Home Depot
Yeah.
or my pool supply store and get the pool filter sand there. And if you want to know the difference between the pool filter sand for me at my pool filters or pool supply store, it was a
Hmm.
higher quality than the Home Depot pool filter sand. So I'll use
Yes, I'm sure
either,
it would be.
but
Yeah.
I'd rather pay just like $6 more or $8 more and get the pool supply sand in the future. So I've done all of them, and that's the one I like the best.
I agree. I've tried about everything, but
I
like I
haven't
said,
done the
yeah,
concrete. I haven't done that. I haven't done the black sands. Mary's done the black sands, and she's very happy with that.
I use a lot of black sand, but
Yeah.
anyway, I couldn't rinse it in the bucket, so I just put it in the tank and then let it settle and did a bunch of water changes, and that worked.
If
Um,
you don't have small critters, I would use black sand, but like if you're wanting to like see things better, like your snails and your small critters, it's harder to see them with the black sand, I think.
well, black sand doesn't work for everything, like you said, and especially some bottom dwellers because they tend to their color will darken because they're trying to
Yeah.
blend. So sometimes
And
you
you
just
might
lose
want
your
that.
fish. Yeah.
You might want that with your shrimp. You might want, like, if you're breeding shrimp and you want a darker
Contrast.
color,
Yeah.
then you choose your substrate based off of that. But if you want to see your shrimp,
Right.
you may
And I,
see them, they
I
might
don't
blend
keep
into the black.
a
Oops,
lot
sorry.
of bottom dwellers. Yeah. I agree.
So I don't know what the concrete sand is. I think that's the same as the play sand.
I've never used that. I admit that's the only one I think
thought
I
it was
haven't
like
used.
being called the same name.
Yeah. I'm not sure.
But
I
my
do-
husband at first was like, I'm not spending more money. I'm getting the play sand. So we got the play sand. And then he learned that it sucks.
It does, and I still
It's a-
have it in the one tank, and it's fine now. But I mean, I'm not
It's a
going.
pain.
It's this thick. I'm
Clean.
not going to change it. But
So he's
you
like,
buy it again.
I'm never doing that again. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
he
once
won't
was
even
enough
do
for
it. And
me.
he's El Cheapo. And he won't buy it again.
I think sometimes I just want to try something to see how it is, so
I was
that
like,
I know.
yeah, I didn't mind. I don't care. But I found that I didn't like it with the plants.
Yeah. I mean, it looks fine now. It's been in there a year. It's settled in. There's plants growing. Whatever. But it was a pain in the butt for about a month.
Yeah. And same with the Crib C. I use that for my bowls and my jars. And I was like, same thing. I could not get plants to stay down in the sand. I was getting extremely frustrated trying to plant my plants into it and get them to stay. So, I mean, like, if I did it over, I'd just use the pool filter sand.
At this point, I use either pool filter, which is the lighter colored, or black sandblasting. But I use more black than anything.
Yeah,
I think
it looks good. I like it. And you know what? You can't see the algae with it. Like if
True.
Like I see all the debris, which there's a pro and con. When the debris gets down into your sand, at least you can see it's going down into it. So you've got like enough sand if you can see it's like way down there. But I see the detritus and I see the algae. Where if it was black, I wouldn't see that at all. So there's that.
Yeah, there is that. And to me,
but I'm not bothered by it.
Substrate, but any lighter substrate, unless you're vacuuming, which we shouldn't, you're gonna get that look. You can't help it. Like you said, the algae and the detritus.
If it bothers you, then black sand is for you.
Yeah.
Go with the black. I don't know how much the black is. Like I don't care to go buy black. I don't want it.
It's no different. I mean, in my area, a bag of that sand at Tractor Supply is $10.
Okay.
It's a 50 or 40 pound bag. I mean, it's cheap.
Sounds like it's about the same price then. The pool filter was $12 for a 50-pound bag at the pool supply store. And it's so funny because I've heard another big YouTuber talk about getting pool filter sand from a pool supply store. And he said now he's on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast. And don't, go try it. Because he was like saying stuff that would make you maybe not want to go try it. And he said his was filled with plastic. I don't know.
I have never had a problem with any of that sand that I had bought from Tractor Supply.
No.
The sandblasting sand. There's not been anything in it. It's
Right.
actually really clean.
Mm-hmm.
And when you compare it to a 20-pound bag, from Petco, that's $20. It's a lot less money. And
well,
it's the same
I
look.
got a 5-pound bag for, I think, was it 8? So the Crib C, I think, was maybe 8 or 10 for 5 pounds. But you're going to want to use that like in your saltwater tanks, not necessarily water. I think it's better suited for the saltwater. And then that might be what your play sand is better suited for saltwater. And it's more affordable than the Crib C.
I think the play sand is better suited for the
You get the same
sandbox for the
texture.
kids.
Sorry, what?
I'm just joking. I said I think that play sand is really better suited for the sandbox outside for the kids. It's just so messy. But like
It's
I said,
messy.
once you get
I'm
it
just saying,
worked out.
texture-wise, you might want it in salt water. And that's more affordable than the Crib Sea because it's going to be the same texture.
Oh yeah. But again, I go with, do your layers and then put whatever you like on the top.
Sure.
And then you're good.
Yeah, I guess it's fine. I don't know. I've just heard Father Fish saying, like, don't do the big gravel on top. Then he says it's okay to do, like, maybe for a little bit of a decorative look.
Well, that's what I do
like
sometimes.
a small layer.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And that's what happened with the one that I have the black sand and the black gravel in. I had like a quarter of a bag of this black gravel that was just sitting in a cabinet, and I put the sand down, I put that on, and then the fish kind of mixed it, and it just gives a nice texture. Yeah. That's what I liked about it.
And MD does it all the time. He's always using big rocks, and then he'll take like, I don't know, little pebbles and even smash them up a little more to make them a little more finer, but you might get some sharp edges doing it that way. But then he like throws it on the rocks, so like they're bouncing off, and it's like trying to replicate nature and like how things might look in nature.
Yeah,
you're gonna get like variation.
I feel like once the bacteria starts growing on your substrate, it just naturally becomes a little bit less sharp. That's how I feel about it.
Yeah. James is saying his black sand makes his fishies colors pop.
And well, that's how I feel with these guys. It's like, they look way better on black, I think, than they would on white.
Yeah. It depends what fish you have. If you've got light colored fish, they're going to look good on black sand. And same with shrimp. But if you've got like all black fish, you're not going to see them.
Right.
So it depends what color fish you have, deciding which way you want to go.
I would agree with that. Depends on the look you're trying to get and what you're keeping.
Mm-hmm. And some people just like black. Right.
Well, I do. I like black.
So we're still on sand.
Can you believe we've been talking about sand this whole time? People are like, we should have our own stream. I'm like, all we've been doing is talking about sand for like 5 minutes.
I don't know if anybody else is enjoying this, but we've just been talking about sand.
There's so much to say about it.
Fish, we could go to mossballs if you want. We haven't discussed those.
Was there a question on mossballs?
I don't know.
Really?
We got on mossballs yesterday.
I like with different colors, says David Piper.
Loopy is on the East Coast, Connecticut. Huh.
Nice. I had a name.
I have no idea what T-Bone and Stephanie are talking about.
The books.
Well, yeah, as I say, my sister lived in Australia for 4 years, so I'm sure they're talking about something.
Your sister lived in Australia?
That's her husband worked for BIW, which is a shipbuilding company in Bath, and they had him go there to do a special job, and so they ended up living there for 4 years. So, yeah,
very neat. Yeah, I've had family.
I believe, if I'm right, they were in Adelaide. If I'm correct.
I've had like a semi-distant cousin. I don't know, second removed, whatever. Like
I get confused.
My grandmother, like a grandmother's sibling, and he lived in Dubai, and prefers it to us to here. I don't know. I don't think I could put up with desert for that long.
Yeah, there is that.
But you have plenty of sand. Plenty of sand.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, it's a pretty extensive urban center as Dubai. So if you like living in a fancy new city, that would be very desirable.
Being covered, which hey, I think that's a good thing. You wouldn't have to do your hair all the time. You wouldn't care about what you're wearing. Just cover up. I'm like kind of okay with that.
I find myself,
those women want to get away from it, and I'm kind of like, may not be such a bad thing.
Well, it's like I don't have to put lipstick on or anything because I wear a mask in the store now. So it's like
Right. Well, and then I did that yesterday. I got like my makeup on for the show, and then I got called to sub. I'm like, I was washing it off because I've got to put my mask on if I go
Yep.
sub. I was
Yeah.
washing it off. I'm like, dang it.
It's funny. But yeah, it's like I could literally just put eye makeup on and go to town.
Right. And they do, and they focus so much. That's why those what Arabic women, they have such beautiful eye makeup because their focus is just on the eye.
Just the eye, yeah.
So they've really learned how to make their eyes look good.
Yep. All right, Father Fish, can I run get a cup of coffee?
By all means.
Thank you.
What time is it? I've been having desperate problems this morning.
Hello, Alex.
Too. What?
Oh, Alex just popped in, just saying hi to Alex. Coffee refill for James. It's our break time. You just took it early.
Yeah, I'm gonna pop a piece of music in here if I can figure out how to do it. Here we go.
Don't forget to hit the like, guys, if you haven't already.
Yeah, and there's something else I want to talk about when we come back, and that is the share button. I want to talk about the share button.
Okay.
Music.
Holly wants to know what's wrong, Father Fish.
I'm having bowel problems.
Did you
I
take
had, well, I had my gallbladder taken out years ago, and if I eat anything fatty, it just goes through me like a dose of salt. And that's what's been happening. I had a sausage this morning, and it's disheartening. It's just very disheartening. Let's see now.
I just have a sensitive tummy, and that happens to me anyways. And I haven't had anything removed.
Let's see. All right.
For me, it's like triggered by sugar. I think sugar.
Really? All right. Here we go. I got one of my favorites here. Take about a 3-minute break, guys.
Okay.
Hi.
What a night. What a night. My fish are mad at me. I didn't want to feed them all tonight. I found it hard to say. They thought I'd had enough of them. Why can't they see? They're lovely to me. But I have to sit in and watch them play on my own every now and then. My snails are mad at me. Been sitting on my arse for an hour. I hardly said a word. I tried and tried, but I could not be heard. Why can't I explain? Why do I feel this way? 'Cause everything I say, they don't understand, they don't realise, they think it's all the wrong way. My frogs are mad at me. We argued just the other night. I thought we'd talk it out. We talked and talked until it was out. I thought we'd agreed. I thought they'd understand. But when I try to talk, they say I don't care. They say I'm unaware, and then they say I'm weak. Sucks to be me. I'm only doing my best for them.
What's your
And the crowd goes wild.
Really.
Hey, I got a lot done. I got a coffee, snuggled with my dogs for a minute, fed my goldfish baby some brine shrimp, and here I am.
Look at you. Yay.
The ultimate multitasker, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Really. Oh, glory.
So we were chatting, Cassie, and I wasn't looking. Did we have any questions? Did you get a chance to look?
I didn't see, other than the comments, I didn't see any questions.
Okay.
So, just commiserating with T-Bone that I get distracted reading books as well and can't ever seem to finish them. I start pondering like every little word or sentence, and then I'm like, I can't finish what I'm reading. I have trouble even getting past a page.
Well,
I just like want to think about what was said too much.
yeah, you overthink it.
Sentence, and then I'm like, I can't finish what I'm reading. Father Fish.
Here it comes again. Father Fish,
He does that so I be quiet.
you do have a question.
Yes.
Do you think, this is from Mainly Bettis, do you think there is a level where you've used too much sand as a cap?
Yes.
Good question.
You don't want the cap so deep that the roots of the plants are not going to be able to get down into the dirt. So if the sand is actually a cap and not simply the totality of the substrate, then you don't want it more than 2.5 inches deep, or the roots are simply not going to be able to get down into the dirt. Now, you don't have to do sand, but if you don't do it, it's going to mean that you're going to have a very, very quiet, peaceful tank with a lot of low growing plants that are going to be holding that soil down. And you're going to want the soil to be deeper than an inch. You'll want it to be 2 or 3 inches. So the sand is simply a way, it's a mechanism for keeping the enriched soil away from the water column, but at the same time making it reasonably possible for the roots of plants to reach that soil. So it's kind of a, it's I I I I claim 2 inches because 2 inches allows the roots to, if you plant them an inch deep, means they only have to go down an inch to get to the dirt, and that dirt is already working its way up, so they're pretty close. It also prevents dirt from coming up into the water column. It's just deep enough to to hold it all down under. So it tends to be effective. If you find a little dirt is coming through, then try to find the low spot where it's coming in and cap that with a little more sand. Also, if you develop mulm, if you get a mulm buildup in the tank, then you need to add more sand because the mulm simply signifies that the sand is full of mulm, that it's packed all the way up and no more can go down in it. So if you put another inch of sand in, that mulm will disappear. It'll go right down in it, and it'll reach a level, well, at 2.5, 3 inches, where the mold will not build up anymore. It'll work its way through. It's just a matter of having it deep enough for the waste to be able to work its way through and not be sitting on the surface of the substrate.
Right.
So-
And doesn't that turn into dirt eventually?
Well, sure, absolutely. The whole substrate will become enriched, including the sand. Um, it's a combination of the dirt working its way up and the waste as it's going down in, breaking down and becoming more of an enriched substrate. So, an old tank, I can show you a 10-year-old 200-gallon tank with 8 inches of substrate in it, and that substrate is nutrition almost all the way to the top, within an inch or so of the top.
But
But
that's
at
because of
10
years.
years later, it's still growing plants like weeds. I can put plants in there and they just instantly take off.
So I guess what you're saying somewhat is you have a basic ratio. You kind of like an inch of dirt and then the 2 inches of sand. That's sort of
Yeah,
your
that's
recipe.
right. Yeah, and it's a somewhat synthetic thing. It's a practical solution to a condition that you want to create that is virtually impossible to create. And by that I mean, if you're trying to duplicate nature, then you go out in any pond and you're going to find that the substrate is 2, 3, 4, 5 feet deep. It's a very, very deep substrate. And in fact, it may be muddy. And that mud might go down several feet before you hit something firmer. You cannot duplicate that in a fish tank.
Right.
Mm.
So you try to do the next best thing, which is to create an enriched soil that's going to last a while and then cap it with sand to keep it out of the water column. So it doesn't not only
Right.
muddy up the water, but it doesn't put a lot of nutrients in the water, because you don't want a lot of nutrients in the water unless you've got a tremendous plant culture going.
So as a tank is established and you move into adding more sand, you're bringing that level up with everything that's filtered down through
Yeah,
to
exactly.
get to the roots.
Right, right.
Yes.
Yeah, and the reality is the older the tank is, the more that enriched layer increases.
Exactly.
Hi there, somebody just walked in. How are you?
Good. I got a couple of questions about a couple of fish.
All right, I'll be right with you.
Thank you.
I need to
Okay.
do.
We'll talk about moss balls while you're gone. We're good. We got it.
Well, what do you guys want to hear us talk about while Father Fish is gone?
Yeah, we're just joking.
What's next? What's next?
Yeah. What do you guys want to talk about?
I feel like I'm doing what Amanda did.
So
Sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry.
and then I have to, when he does this, now I have to lean this way.
I know, right? We have to like adjust. Like, okay, center.
I
This is
can't.
not
Okay,
the
you just gotta
best
see me.
view. And then you guys can't see my jar. which is tiny. Do you guys like my Christmas decorations and jar back there?
I can't see it
You can't
probably
see
as well
my
as some people can. I
decorations.
mean, I'm old. I mean, oh, I
Looky.
love that. That's cute. Well, have it on.
I
Leave
keep
that
this
on.
on so I can just click it whenever I want to.
Yeah, so turn it on. Put it back there and turn it on so we
I
can
can't
see
turn it on because I'd have to unplug this, and then it's got
Oh.
a screw that I have to unscrew to put in
Oh, you
batteries,
have to get it back up inside.
and that's too much of a pain.
Okay.
So I can just do this.
So you can just do that. Okay.
So here we go. Ready?
It's cute. I
I'll
do
just
like it. I mean, now I can see
Hold
it.
it the
Now
whole
you
time.
turned it on. Yeah, just sit back there and hold it on. You know,
Here you go.
that should do it.
Yeah, this is a 1 gallon jar that I got from Walmart. It is a cookie jar. I think it was like $8 from Walmart. And they have a 2 gallon one. And when I made the video, I forgot that there's a 2 gallon one. So I'd have made a 2 gallon one instead of a 1 if I had remembered that. And I was making the video and I was like looking at my decorations and I was filming my decorations and I'm like, I have 2 more of those 2 gallon jars, but they're up in my decor. And I'm like,
Okay.
these are bigger.
I was like, I was just.
They're bigger than that one. And then I realized, oh, they do have a large size and a small size. So this is the small. So it's like a 1 gallon. But I had the hardest time going back to Walmart and finding them. I'm
Well,
like,
I mean,
they-
there's always.
I don't know if they moved them. They're not in the same spot. So I haven't been able to find them.
But I mean, you're gonna have that new shelf in there. You could either put in a big fish tank or a big fish tank and some extra jars.
Is
I
that,
mean, you know.
is that showing it, guys? Can you see
yeah, I
it?
can see it.
It's so hard to move.
I
And
know.
the
There's
shrimp,
no
there's
limit.
baby shrimp in there.
Look, I'll just go
But I'm
this way.
not moving the jar. And if I move the jar, the light will stay there. So the light doesn't come with it. That's the
Okay,
problem.
Gotcha.
So I need my
Gotcha.
phone to then do that. But then I got to get Father Fish to get me on
Yeah.
my mobile.
Somebody's asking what's hanging on your string back there. Are those awards on the string?
What's that?
Amanda's asking what's on the strings back there. Are they awards? Are they medals or?
These? Oh, well, these are my paper Christmas lights that I handmade out of paper. So there's like red, yellow, green, blue, purple.
Oh.
And then I made them so they're supposed to look like Christmas ornaments.
Well,
and I
to
did
me,
that
they look
last
like
year.
medals,
They're
which
Christmas
is
ornaments.
good too.
And it's like, I don't have a really good way to hang them
Pretty.
back here because of the shelf. But yeah,
Well,
I took like 3 days making these things. But I was doing it for my son's Christmas party last year when he was in 2nd grade.
yeah.
And I made there should be like about 20. That one might have more. There's like 20 bulbs on them, on each garland. And I made like 4 sets for his classroom. Brought them in. It took me so long, guys. I had to cut every strip out by hand.
Yeah.
Anyways, I brought them in and the teacher was like, I'm not going to reuse them, every year. He's like, you're going to go in the garbage after the party's over. I'm like, you're just going to throw them away? Well,
Right.
heck, I'm going to take them back home then.
Absolutely. Somebody wants you to show the jar, and then mainly Betta says they're going to set up a jar today. So that's nice.
The light is a desk lamp that I stole from my son. It's a desk lamp I bought for him for his desk. And then I'm like, well, I need a lamp now for my jar. So it's just, I can't see the brand, but it's just a little LED desk lamp
Mm-hmm.
with just a small little LED strip. And you can dim it. So it'll be bright, medium, low, and off.
Oh, nice.
I just tap it, and I keep it on the low setting for the shrimp.
I think they were hoping you were going to pick the jar up and bring it up to the camera, but if it's too much of a
I
pain,
have
you don't
baby
have to.
shrimp in there, guys.
Yeah, so she doesn't want to disturb it.
Yeah, I
but-
really don't want to disturb those guys.
Yeah. So,
My
but does
mama
they
shrimp
watch your
bread. I
video,
have a
right?
video on it. You guys can check out the video.
I was just going to say,
See
watch
them.
your video.
You can see
Yeah,
the jar
closer.
better in my video. So I'll link that for you. Unless Father
Yes.
Fish wants to play it.
Yeah. Is somebody shopping in the store, Father Fish?
They're finished. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I sold a nice 6-inch frontosa.
The hanging
Nice.
circle ribbon looking things. Okay, guys. Let's see.
Yeah,
More-
the things that I thought might be metals,
These guys,
which would be cool.
might be too hard to bring it forward, but they're ornaments. They're paper ornaments. I have more. I have them all throughout my house. I think they're cool. They look awesome.
Hey, I like a good project.
They're cool. It was a Pinterest project. So I
fun.
got all kinds of paper. It was like I was a paper hog from the school. I went in there and I was like grabbing all these big sheets of paper, bringing them home and cutting them into strips and cutting them down.
Mhm.
But like because I was doing that, I also made like 4 sets for the front office. So like I wanted all the kids to come in and feel like the Christmas cheer and just have a little touch of
Well, I think that's
Christmas spirit.
sweet.
I wanted to share it with everybody, not just my son's classroom. Well, then the vice principal and everybody was like, I want my own set. So I had to go home and make more.
You're like a little elf making those.
Yeah, and
Hey,
I
this
made a bunch. And
this
then I
is
had
totally
teachers going, I
random.
really like them. So I made a set for some teachers too.
Yeah. So this is a random thing I'm going to say, but when you were just saying strips and do whatever, this is going to show my age for sure, which we already know more. Anybody in the chat remember or did making the little gum wrapper chains?
Gum
You
wrapper
fold
chains.
gum wrappers and make make these little
Oh,
like
right.
L-shaped links, and you'd link it together. I mean, you could get them going around a room.
Yeah.
The gum wrapper.
I've never done that.
See if anybody remembers that.
No, I've never done that.
You never done
Zigzag
that?
chains. Alex remembers. I know what you're talking about. I've never made them.
Oh, they were just so fun. And
I've
and
done,
you couldn't wait to get a fancy wrapper like juicy fruit, and what was the other one? The something stripes, because it would be a fancier one.
All right. Let me run through a couple of things here.
Okay.
You do
Jack and Dan wants to know if I'm going to dress up for Santa. I'm trying to find my hat. If I
think
can
you
do
should.
that might be as far as I get. But I'm trying to do that. Let's see. Where is she? Steel Wolf is talking about adding sand and some other stuff. She just posted this Amanda Fox, who you may know as oh Lord, what's the name of her fish channel?
Oh, she was Precious
It's
Tranquility.
right in there. It's the
Tranquility,
steel.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's how we know her
Tranquility
usually.
right. She just posted a couple of videos based on a long conversation she and I had. You might want to check that out. Let's see. There was something else. Oh, Morgan, don't worry about it. She can't do anything. Um,
We
all
wanted to talk about
all
the
you can
share, but
do, all you can do is block somebody from being able to see them on your screen. It does not go. That's why we all have wrenches. We're all equal here. Well, only one who can knock people off is me, and I
Right.
only rarely do it. So that was not an intention. That was a side effect, but it happens to be the case. Now, there's something I wanted to discuss
I
with
know.
everyone. Hey, Redfish, Bluefish, good to see you. Jack and Dan, hello, hello.
Hit that like button, guys. We need
Yeah,
Yeah.
going.
I'm gonna put this up because I want you to look at it. We all know about hitting the like button
Mhm.
or the dislike button. Either way,
Which we don't like as much, but
right? There
Right.
are two dislikes, 41 likes.
we like
Uh,
our heads to grow.
the join button takes you to the membership list where you get to be a snook, barracuda, or tarpon, and you can click on one of those, and it'll take you to whatever it is you want to do and explain the resources. That's a picture of me talking about what those are. Now, the share button. This is the one I wanted to talk about. But before we do that, I'll mention the save. The save button simply allows you to save that video in one of your groups of videos. And this is all of my groups of videos. The share button, however, is the one that everyone needs to do every day. This is the one that beats the algorithm because what this does is it allows you to share the video you're looking at on whatever a platform, social platform you're on. So, Facebook, for example, you click on Facebook and it takes you to uh, the video, and at the bottom it says post to Facebook. Now you can also write a comment in there. Watch this WTCH. Watch this. It is great! Exclamation. And then at the bottom, it allows you to post. And that posts that to Facebook, which means anyone looking at your account on Facebook will see that. And there's the possibility they will click through. Similarly with Twitter, I have a Twitter account. Um, so I simply uh, make a comment wherever I make a comment. Father Fish in the morning. Everyone can reply. I don't know where I make a comment. Maybe nowhere.
You
Uh,
just change
just
the text that they gave you right there. You
just
should be able to change it.
push the tweet button.
That's just the suggested text they give you.
Okay, and there that posts the video on tweet. What this does is
Twitter.
it posts it on Twitter, right, on tweet, and so forth and so on. So be sure when you click on the thumbs up, and we can walk people through this each day. You should be doing it while I'm showing you. Click on the share and share. If you will do that every day, we will substantially increase the volume of traffic coming to this channel. And by substantial, I mean we can double or triple it. It will be utterly substantial. It is the only really effective way to overcome the algorithm and to break out of the rather restrictive box that YouTube has us locked in. The algorithm right now is only sharing these videos with people who are already signed up. It doesn't share beyond that to any degree at all. It's very minor and utterly inconsequential. As a result, we cannot grow. It's impossible to grow. I have I have grown 100 account of 100 subscribers in the last 3 months.
Well,
That's
word of mouth helps too.
about
But
one a day.
you don't have Facebook or Twitter.
Yeah, share
Word
it.
helps.
Yeah, whatever you've got as a platform, whatever you're on, share this video and share all of the videos that you watch that you like. Don't do this simply for this channel. Do it for every channel you want to be supportive of, because it will help all of us break out of this restrictive, confining box we're in at YouTube, and bring more people into our channel. So please remember to do that, and do it routinely. It only takes a second, 2 seconds, well, maybe 5 seconds,
I don't
not
know,
more.
abolished, but maybe if
Yeah,
you
abolished.
like a particular video a lot, share that one. You know, you don't have to share every one, but if you liked one more than normal, don't. Yeah, I know Father Fish should do it every day, but share the ones you really enjoyed with people. You know, maybe then you
Share,
won't enjoy
yeah,
them as much.
yeah. Share is a really important tool if you're trying to build your channel or help someone build a channel. Use the share button.
Yeah.
That's its primary function, is to reach out to new people.
Yeah, we got it.
He was just making the point, Father Fish, that some people find that annoying. So maybe
Yeah.
there is a level. I don't know.
There's a line. Yeah, I mean, if you're doing it every day, people are gonna like unfriend you.
Well, then you'll know who your friends are, won't you?
Well, not everybody is interested in fish,
Well,
unfortunately.
then they don't have to look at it, do they?
Yeah. Good morning,
I mean,
whitefish
really,
salad.
how persnickety do you want to get?
I don't know.
I would share the ones you truly enjoy. Go ahead and do that.
I would share everyone on a channel that you like,
Mm-hmm.
and do it consistently, because that's the only way to make a difference. If you only do it once in a while, it's
Mm-hmm.
not going to make a difference. You have
Right.
to do it consistently.
All
So,
right.
if the whole purpose of this is to grow the channel. You're not going to grow the channel by doing something once in a great while. All right, where are we here?
We're at 9:33.
Oh, really? Wow.
Thank
We're
you,
at,
Whitefish. He
we're at
says
the end of the
everyone
world.
me
Right.
has heard of
Whitefish
Father Fish.
salad. Whitefish salad's been here a few times. Let's give Whitefish a wrench.
Okay.
All right.
Is there anybody else, Cassie? Did you see anybody else? For
I
wrench, I mean.
didn't see anyone else,
Okay.
but we're always here. We'll be back.
Oh yeah.
You guys can come back and ask questions. I came off with like an
Right.
accent.
Absolutely.
Mainly Betta's talking about Alex's new Brazilian diorama.
Yeah, Alex has an interesting point, but sometimes oversharing can devalue your shares.
I've not ever known that to be the case. Not ever. I mean, I dare say it's true, but I dare say it never happens. If you're sharing something 20 times with people who are interested in you, then they're going to get around to wondering what it is you're sharing. And they may like it and they may not. But that's the
Right.
whole purpose of a share, to say, hey, this is something I really enjoy and really appreciate, and I'd like you to take a look at it. And if you do it more than once, you're simply reinforcing that it's something you really like. How is that insulting anyone?
No, I don't think he's saying
If
it.
someone is taking umbrage at you doing that, they need to get a life. I mean, really. Why in the world would you get upset with a friend for saying, "Please look at this. It's something I really appreciate," and saying it more than once?
All right.
You know?
Bye, Nicholas. Have fun playing your games.
Take care, everybody. Let's see. Let's get a little tune up here.
Thanks, Abolish. Thank
We
you.
need we need a break from the madness.
Well, I don't do social media, so
Really.
Quite a few people here seem not to do it. So, and I definitely don't do it as much either.
this is the only thing I do. I don't do anything else.
I share pictures on Instagram and I post like seldomly on Facebook.
All right, we had a request for this the other day.
Alrighty.
Guess what?
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 I'm waiting. No.
It's loading. Hello.
Oh, nice.
You're a mean one. You really are a heel. You're as cuddly as a sea urchin. You're as charming as an eel. Mr. Silver Dollar, you're a bad banana. You have angels in your smile. You have all the tender sweetness of a seasick crocodile. Mr. Silver Dollar, you're a foul one. Friends, they're a wolf pack. I wouldn't touch you with a 39.5-foot net. You're a monster. Your heart's an empty hole. You've got garlic. You've got garlic in your soul. All them pins, I shredded them. All them angel fish, I took them down. You can ask Father Fish. I don't play around. Ew. Who's this mean fishy with his scales all silver and his eyes all black?
Thank you.
This got washed too.
You're a monster. Your heart's an empty hole. You've got garlic. You've got garlic in your soul. All them pins, I shredded them. All them angel fish, I took them down. You can ask Father Fish. I don't play around. Ew. Who's this mean fishy with his scales all silver and his eyes all black? La la la, what you so mean for? Halloween coming round and we ain't knocking at your door. Bad silver dollar, bad silver dollar. Bad silver dollar. Bad silver dollar. Bad silver dollar. Bad silver dollar.
You know Mary and Joey and Cassie and Roxy, Lee, T.
All right.
Right.
Thank you all, guys. Nice to
Thank
be
you.
with you today.
Thank you guys. Glad you enjoyed the song.
Bye bye, y'all. Everyone loves the song.
We like that song, Cassie. It's
We
good.
do. We
Bad
do.
silver dollar.
A lot of work. A lot of work. Bye now.